Hello, hello. Welcome to a special episode of I Like Art podcast. My name is Sara Glupker, and today is a very special episode because I not only have one special guest, I have two, and I cannot wait to dive into this episode. I hope you get so much out of it. And before we get started, I would like to read their bios so that you can kind of get a feel for who these people are in case you don't know. We're going to start out with Ekaterina Popova. She's an award-winning artist based in Philadelphia. She's the founder and editor-in-chief of Create Magazine, co-founder of PXP Contemporary Art Gallery, and the CEO of the Art Queen Society. She has a coaching service, which is a coaching service and community dedicated to lifting up women artists. I talk about the Art Queens all the time on the podcast, so I'm so excited to have Kat here for the first time. And then we also have back from last year, we interviewed on episode 25, Alicia Puig, and she is the CEO and co-founder of PXP Contemporary Art Gallery, an award-winning curator, the director of business operations for Create Magazine, and an independent arts journalist. She's originally from the US, and she has also lived in the Netherlands and is now based in Costa Rica. And Alicia, I'm so glad to have you back. And if anyone wants to hear more about Alicia, go check out episode 25. It'll be in the show notes, and we talk about PXP Contemporary. But today, we are talking about art and business and creativity. And I like to start out with saying, on my podcast, I always say as a disclaimer, my podcast is all about art and creativity and how we can be more creative. And it's not my goal to turn everybody into a professional creative entrepreneur. However, with that being said, I know a lot of my audience members are artists and people who are creative and may want to start a business. So here is the time where I think it's a great chance to talk to the experts and kind of get an idea of how we would get started and why now is a good time to start doing that. So let's talk about that. I don't even know who wants to go first, but welcome to the show. Thanks again so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us. I'll jump in first. I am Kat, for those who are listening. And I think to answer your question, I mean, there's always a great time to turn your passion into a business if that's what you want to do. And you're right. I think there's so much space to just create and explore and have hobbies. That's so important. But for those who are interested, or maybe you just haven't found the perfect day job and you're just super unhappy and you dream about being your own boss, you dream about starting a business or even just a side hustle to diversify your income, I think this is a great time because there's a lot of fear right now with the recession and global events and we're post-pandemic. And I think in this fear, there's always a gift. There's a gift where the safety of a day job is no longer true, and it really never was, but it really highlights that fact. So creating your own safety, whether you just make a few $100s doing something that you love can bring you so much joy, can make you feel empowered, and also can help inspire other people. So it creates a really beautiful ripple effect. But I think at the time of this recording, I think there's just so much uncertainty and fear and panic. And this is a great time to run towards the fear and pursue the things that maybe you were putting on the back burner.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Kat. And Alicia, do you want to add to that?
Absolutely. So I love that response from Kat, and there's definitely a lot of that at the heart of why we even started this book and why we wanted to write it. It's interesting because this book has now been over 2 years in the making. So when we wrote this, when we were in the process of actually writing it, it was a much different time. And so now 2 years later, having it come around to the time when we're launching it, and like Kat said, having there be a lot of fear and uncertainty and questions about what the economy is going to be like for the rest of the year, maybe even the following year, it's an interesting time to be like, okay, guys, now's going to be the right chance to start your business. And I know that some people are going to kind of hit that wall at first and say, wait a minute, are you sure? But there are two key reasons that I would add onto what Kat said. The first is how much growth we've seen in the online space. And if you heard in my bio, I am not based in the United States anymore. I'm based in Costa Rica. And the reason that I'm able to be here and make a living for myself is because of all of the tools that are available online. I'm able to market myself. I'm able to have a fully online business and then travel as needed when I want to. So you can harness that now. You can do that. That's not something that was available to people really been like 5 years ago. There's been so much growth in this space. And so take advantage of that, build that flexibility into your life, build that freedom. The other thing, which is a little bit difficult and not as exciting to talk about, is yes, that fear is going to end up weeding out a lot of people this year. And that's unfortunate. We're going to see some businesses close. And like I said, it's not the fun part of it, but that's also going to open up space for the people who dive in, who double down, and who decide, I'm going to take that risk. I'm going to have that leap of faith and really go for it. So hopefully you're one of those people. And we promised that, we wrote this book to be really what it is in the title, a handbook. So we're going to hold your hand throughout the way. We're not going to push you into the deep end with nothing. You're going to have tools, you're going to have tips, you're going to have resources. And one of my favorite parts is also the fact that we brought in some real big heavy hitters in terms of the interviews. So it's not just us. Yes, we have a lot of experience in education, but we don't pretend to be the end all be all guru of everything. So we have these other people to share their experience as well, so that you really do get a full perspective of what it's like to be a creative entrepreneur.
Oh, I love that. Ooh, that was so good. Okay. I want to hit the pause button here because we're talking about a book. And I didn't officially say, we are here to talk about this topic. And we're also here to celebrate you guys and the release of is this officially your third book? Second book? I'm not really sure.
Good question. So we're technically calling it our second book because the first book was written in 2 versions. So in reality, it could be seen as both, but we're going to call it our second because technically the first and second were kind of pushed into one and in the expanded version of the second one. Or first one, apologies.
First book, and this is for my YouTube channel, but the Complete Smartest Guide, I'm holding it up. This is your first book, baby. And look at you guys. So cute on the back. You self-published this book, and I love this book. It is not the same book. I originally thought, is this an elevated version of the Complete Smartest Guide, your new book? But they're not the same. They're different. There's some similarities, but the Creative Business Handbook is the new book that we're talking about. And a lot of the things that we're talking about today are going to be in this book. So, okay. I just wanted to point that out because we're talking about a book and I want my listeners to know what book we're talking about. Alicia, I love that so much. And I will say your point of, unfortunately, some people are going to fall off. I have experienced this before. I graduated from art school in 2005. And in 2007, we had a crash, one of them. And I was in a building full of art studios, very similar to Kat, and artists just started moving out. They were quitting before it even got to be difficult. And I remember saying to myself, if I could just keep creating and move forward in little bits and increments, the artists that are left over at the end are the strong ones. And I truly believe that. So I think this is such a great opportunity to share this knowledge now so that we can prepare and move forward and not quit, right? Okay. Love that. All right. So somebody has an idea, and maybe I want to say too, this Creative Business Handbook, some people already have a creative business like myself. And when I was reading this, I was thinking about it in terms of a new creative aspect of my business or a new creative project. So you can think about it in smaller terms like that. So not just creating an all new business, but maybe a new thing. So what would my listeners do if they were starting to think about creating a new business or project? What would they do first?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I'll start because it was fresh on my mind as you were sharing about people falling off, unfortunately. And one of the things that when it gets really, really hard, sometimes it's a gift. I mean, it's always a gift when you look back, but in the moment, it's really crappy. And I'm actually kind of going through something like being completely vulnerable. Yes, we wrote a business book, but we still have moments where like, okay, this thing that used to work is no longer working. What do? We don't like throw in the towel and quit. We get to use our own book and figure it out. And that's like one of the key characteristics of staying afloat in a business is being willing to be creative. And to your point, creating something new, doesn't always have to be even a brand new income stream. It could just be a new version or an update or a new bow around a thing that you already have from a different perspective. So my first tip would be for someone who's like, okay, I have an idea, or I want to do something else, I want to add a new income stream, is just to think about, what do you think about? What do you like talking about? What do people DM you about all the time or compliment you on that you kind of take for granted? Because I find that the things that are just natural to you and are easy for you are the ones that are more enjoyable to work on, that you'll actually stick with and be excited to share, versus something that's like, you kind of have to do a lot of research and you have to like dig up this whole new thing. Those are the things that might not last in your business because it just drain your energy and take too much effort. So I would say just start writing down the things that you enjoy and the things that you're naturally good at, and even ask a friend like, hey, what do you think I'm good at? That could be a really great place to start.
I love that. Thank you so much. Love all of those tips. Alicia?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I think piggybacking off of that, the next thing as you're developing ideas and kind of brainstorming is to start thinking about who you would be serving, who's your ideal client. So I'll use the example of PXP because obviously I know it very intimately. Before even thinking about selling art, really, I was thinking about, who is this business for? So I'm sure that we talked about this in depth in our interview, but I will just quickly kind of go over it. My main, I guess, audiences, I'll call them, for PXP are really two different groups. One, the artists, and I serve them because there were, and kind of really still are, a few platforms that are that intermediary between the higher level galleries and selling on their own or just coming out of school. So I knew that I wanted to serve that group of artists. And then on the collector side, it's very similar. There are people that want higher quality art than buying prints, reproductions off Etsy, minted, whatever, and who are also not yet ready to spend $10,000, $15,000 on a piece. So that's where my set price range fits with them. So again, I was starting from, who am I serving rather than what am I selling and why.
Oh, that's so interesting and so smart. I love that. That's my anyway, portal in my studio. Okay, so we have this concept, right? And we're thinking about it. My favorite chapter in this book is chapter 3, and it's all about mindset, that CEO mindset. But I think the key word is mindset in that title. So I have so many things highlighted. What is it about starting a business or continuing to have your own creative business that mindset is so important to you? How does that factor into this process?
I saw a reel the other day. I think it was by Dean Graziosi, a speaker that I follow that I admire, and he said, when I first started my business, I used to think it was 90% products and services and 10% mindset. And he's like, now that I'm older, it's 90% mindset and all the other things following. And I'm finding that to be so true because, on those days that things aren't working or you feel down on yourself, like, you are so responsible for choosing a different thought, for picking yourself up again and realizing, like, okay, even if you created a weird situation in your life or business, you also have the power to change it. And it's so easy to just be hard on yourself all the time. And I think just having the mindset of, okay, I'm going to message you or Alicia and just be like, hey, I'm having a rough day. And just knowing where to get help, where to get support, where to get encouragement, that's part of that mindset too, because it gets a little rough sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. It's not always like, a lot of times it is rainbows and unicorns, and those are like the moments we live for and what keeps us going. But I think like the rough days really make you lean in and work on that mindset, and it shows you the holes you might have in your beliefs, like, how easily you are completely thrown off, and how easy it is to get discouraged. So it's all growth. So those are the things that I think about, and definitely is something to focus on.
Lisa, yeah.
Sorry. I think mindset for me has been a lot of what Kat said. Yeah. A little deeper though is, that fear. And especially because we're solopreneurs and a lot of artists and creative business owners are at least at the beginning. And so when there's a month of slow sales, it's on you. When you spent a bunch of money on something that didn't work out, it's on you. When you launch something and you hear crickets, it's on you. And so if you don't have that creative community at the beginning or other entrepreneurs that you can commiserate with, you start to internalize it's your fault. And what you realize, though, when you do have that community is that these are just things that happen that are normal in business. And it's not that you're doing something wrong. It just is the way it is. Yeah. There's never going to be an endless cycle of growth. You will go through seasons. And so, really just echoing what Kat said, you need to have some people in your corner. You need to have people that you can talk to, not just for advice, but just to commiserate. You're like, yeah, this is happening to me too. That made such a difference when I finally connected with other women entrepreneurs in other industries too. So not just in the arts, but across industries, because then you realize that it really is universal. And again, it's not you. Yes. So it takes a lot of time to really cultivate the mindset and realize, if you're just making increments of progress, then that's great. And it doesn't have to be quantum leaps. Of course, it's lovely when it is, and you should strive for that in your business. Absolutely. But it's not always going to be that. Sometimes it's flat progress, plateaued. Sometimes it's a dip into the red, unfortunately. But for the most part, if you're seeing small signs of growth, small progress, you're absolutely headed in the right direction. So lean into that too. And I guess one other part of CEO mindset is like, especially as women, we tend to undermine our own wins and not talk about them as much, and just like, oh yeah, of course that I did that. It's not a big deal. But we need to celebrate those too, because it's so important for like just giving yourself the confidence, growing your confidence as a CEO, and building that value in your business and showing other people that your business is valuable as well. So yeah, those are a few things that come to mind for me.
Yeah, I love that. I have something else to add too quickly, is that something I've been learning the past year is the importance of neutrality, and kind of piggybacking off what Alicia just shared is, if you go into the red, if you feel like you're taking 10 steps backwards, you have to neutralize that and realize like, you're not bad. You're not a bad business owner. You're not a bad person. You're not dumb. Though it's just a fact. And just the same way you got in that red, you can get out into the green, and really learning to not judge yourself. Or if you find yourself judging yourself, taking a breath, once again, reaching out, seeing like someone ahead of you who's been there even further in their business, right? It happens to a lot of people where we think it's just like this climb forever and we're always growing and increasing, but sometimes there's these like peaks and valleys, and just making it so normal so that you're not hard on yourself, because when you get so hard on yourself, you spiral and then you want to quit. So that's so important.
I love all of this. This is so good. I feel like we could talk for hours on this topic. So I want to honor your time too. And I think having that chapter in the middle of the book, if I were to write this book, I probably would have thought of putting that at the end, because the mindset piece, after you do all of these tangible things to set up your creative business or project, think about your mindset. But you guys stuck that right in the middle of the book. And I think that's such a intentional, perfect timing kind of thing that you did, because the mindset is so huge. And once you start creating something, all of these voices kind of pop up, and the imposter syndrome and the things that you talked about in the book really start to show up. And I do find it so beautiful and helpful, your real life examples throughout the whole book, and the interviews from other people, and hearing that someone as successful as you are have the same struggles and all of those things. So I love all of this. What else can we talk about as far as now is a great time to start? And if you have this idea and you want to create, what are we missing? What are a couple little more things that could help my audience?
Yeah, I'll quickly share, and then Alicia, I see you have a finger. One thing I'm going to share is that my biggest tip for anyone who's starting is, don't think you need a ton of stuff. If you're looking for another book to read, of course, read ours first, but there's a book called $100 Startup that I love. And it highlights how you don't need like to hire, at least not in the beginning, you can hire a coach later on. Just to start, like make a simple, cheap website, do it all yourself, really just get scrappy and just put something out there. And then as you start making sales and growing your budget, you'll be able to enhance and polish and upgrade. But my biggest tip is just don't overthink it. Don't think you need designers and tech people and coaches. Like you can do a lot with very, very little these days with social media and emails and all that stuff. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, my 2 cents is actually going off of what you said, Sarah, about the intentionality of having the CEO mindset chapter in the middle. And that's really for 2 reasons. So first, actually is exactly what Kat just said, that we know that there are going to be people that they get the idea, they start that momentum, and then the fear kicks in and then they don't start. So that's why we wanted to kind of build them back up again and say, hey, okay, you can do this. You have the idea. Now let's keep finishing through the process. Let's have that follow through and actually hit launch, press send, do the thing. And then the other part of it is something that I mentioned previously, which was it takes time. It takes time to start building your confidence and takes time to start cultivating this particular mindset. So if you start it from the very beginning or even a little bit before, then in the first few months of your business, in the first year of your business, in the first few years, you're already going to see growth. And it's going to make such a big difference than if you have the business for a few years in already and have to then start and realize like, wait, I should have been working on this years ago. So there was really a lot of intention behind organizing everything the way that we did. And I'm glad that you picked up on that as well.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Yes. I want to talk for days, but I know we can't, but I know that this book, okay. So you guys aren't paying me to talk about how awesome your book is, but I'm just going to talk about it anyway. I've read the Complete Smartest Guide. I do believe it is still so good for artists specifically. It has a lot of very specific things about being an artist, such as writing your artist statement, resume, licensing, etc. This is more for the creative business entrepreneur, to not necessarily artists, but I love things that I love about this book. I love that it's very colorful. And there are beautiful illustrations. Your designer, I'm trying to think of what her name is. What's her name? The person who designed your book.
Leela Simon Hayes.
Yes. It's beautiful. And I love the interviews from people all over the industry. I love their perspectives, the questions that you asked. I absolutely love the actionable steps at the end of each chapter. You could take this book and read it chapter to chapter and do the assigned homework. You can read through it and do as you want. I have read the whole thing. There will be a test, I'm sure. Send it to me. Let's see how I do. And lots of highlighted goodies, things that I'm going to just keep referring back to. So congratulations. I just want to celebrate both of you as women and leaders in the business industry and the arts industry. You guys are such a fantastic example of believing in yourself, working hard, going for it, chasing your dreams, following your intuition. And this is such a treasure of a book. I just love it so much. I'm so thankful, and I'm here to brag that I have a signed copy from Kat. Is there anything else? So the book comes out very soon, officially on May 23rd, but you can pre-order, which is such a huge help for you guys because it helps with, the launch and everything. Are you guys going to have a book tour or a party, or do you have plans for that?
We are very excited because we are partnering with Paradigm Gallery in Philadelphia, and we haven't officially picked a date for the book, but most likely in July when we have our first exhibition there, we're going to have a simultaneous magazine book launch and exhibition. So for anyone in Philadelphia, please stop by, and we will be sharing if we have other dates but most of it's going to be, chatting with amazing humans like you on podcasts and online, just because our audience is so global. So we appreciate you giving us the space to talk about it, because we want to help as many creative entrepreneurs as possible and artists who want to make their art into a business, because it's challenging, but it's not impossible. And trust us when we tell you you can definitely do it.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Kat.
Yeah, and we also are offering anyone who pre-orders access to a little VIP launch party with us. We will be coming up with dates for that soon. But yes, so again, like Sarah said, pre-orders are very important. They just help the book do better. And yeah, we're giving you a little bonus if you do pre-order, although of course you can order later and it'll come directly. But much, much appreciation and gratitude and goodwill to anyone who pre-orders.
Good vibes.
Yes. I love that. So it's called the Creative Business Handbook. And it was such a pleasure to talk to both of you, Alicia and Kat. Is there anything else you want to say that we're missing? With the link to order the book will be in the show notes. You can order it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, I'm sure. You'll find
everywhere.
it. Yes. Anything you want to say before we go?
No, just thank you so much to everyone listening and to you, Sarah. We appreciate your support. And for anyone reading the book, if you are as studious as Sarah and you're highlighting things, go ahead and tag us on Instagram at Create Magazine or Puigi Pics or Ekaterina Popova, and even tag Sarah because she is one of the few readers at the beginning of this journey. So tag us all. And we are just so grateful for any support that you, and hopefully it helps tons and tons of creatives.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
Yes, absolutely. Echoing what Kat said, I would just love to see all the pictures of everyone who finally has it and sharing your favorite bits and insights that you find. So I can't wait. I just really can't wait for people to finally get it. Thank you. Thank you so much in advance. And thank you, Sarah, for having us.
Of course. Congratulations again on your book. It's so beautifully written. It's so approachable and just, you guys are professionals. And I tip my hat to you today. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. I think there's so much more I just want to say and ask, and maybe for another time. So thank you again. And yes, I can't wait to see everybody's pictures and their posts and their tags and their stories and all of the good stuff. So thanks so much for listening to another episode of I Like Art podcast. And if you have that creative idea that's not leaving you alone, go pick up this Creative Business Handbook. It's going to help you. It's going to show you all the steps, and you're not alone in all this. We're here to support you always. So have a beautiful day. And thanks again for listening. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.